Yumper and Svo at the Show podcast with Tom Yumper Garcia.
Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna play?
And Justin Svoboda.
Stop the prime time, bitch!
Two guys from Chicago talking movies.
Welcome everyone to episode 3 of season 3 with Yumper and Svo at the Show. I am one of your co-hosts, Tom Garcia, aka Yumper, and I'm with my other co-host, Justin Svoboda. Mr. Svoboda, we haven't heard from you in a while. How are you doing today, sir?
I am fantastic. It's been a long weekend. I had to take the college football hat off and put on the movie hat because you are my movie partner, man, and I love talking movies with you.
Yes. Also, check out Eugenia Tallahassee. And yes, Brian, I am clean shaven.
I was just gonna say,
I look like I'm 12. So yes, I had to clean. My beard was bothering me, so I just shaved it all off. And I should have included the Chucky yelling at his mom in Spanish. It was great. But we got an action-packed show today. We're gonna be discussing our favorite horror movie gems. So movies that might not be well known or not talked about enough that we picked. So we picked 5 each. We got some good ones coming out. So with that told, let's get right into it because we know we have a short show to get to because you have our friends, the Chicago Sports Bums, at 9 o'clock.
Yep, we respect our boys.
Let's get this rolling. So we're gonna go right into our weekly segment of what we've been watching. So what you've been watching, my friend?
So you know me, I go to the theater a lot, and I went to go see Dumb Money, which is about the GameStop short stock sales. Really, really good. Ben Ezrich wrote it. He also wrote The Accidental Billionaires, which they turned into The Social Network. Great movie. And my other movie that I went to go see, and I'm going to be honest with you guys, I went to go see The Creator twice. The first time I left in the middle, like before the movie even started, because there were some douchebags vaping in the middle of the movie theater, and it drove me crazy. They were hitting the douche juice in the middle of the movie theater. And then the second time I left early, so I still haven't seen The Creator because I got a case of the shits. So I shit and I missed most of the movie.
Wow.
You didn't have a bucket of chicken this time, though, right?
I did not have a bucket of KFC chicken, but I am doomed. Like, I'm never going to see this movie until I get to watch it at home. But go see Dumb Money because it's fantastic.
Yeah, to be honest, when I first saw the previews for Dumb Money, I know it's Paul Dano, but when I first saw it, I thought it was Lou Diamond Phillips at first. I'm like, is that Lou Diamond Phillips?
Yeah.
He kind of looked like him a little bit. But yeah, I definitely want to see that. The Creator, to be honest, I have not heard anything about it.
So Gareth Edwards directed it.
Okay.
And he did Rogue One.
Oh, okay. Yes, he did.
And like John David Washington's in it, Denzel Washington's son, who was in Tenet. And like the premise is really, really good, and the special effects look really, really good. I'm doomed to not see it till I can watch it at home.
Sometimes that's the best place to watch movies is at home, man.
You're not wrong. But also, like, if you're going to the movie theaters and you start vaping, like, just stay home if you can't not vape for 2.5 hours.
Giuseppe will get you if you vape.
He will. He will. What about you, Yump? What have you been watching?
So I watched 2 movies. One is a all-time classic to me, and that's Creepshow. I can't get enough of it. Whenever it's on, I will watch it. I happened to see a clip of it on TikTok, and then I just went and watched it while I was doing some stuff around the house. Love the Stephen King story of Jordy Verrill. Meteor shit. Love that.
The Boss.
I think The Boss, yes. I love The Crate. Is probably my favorite story from that particular movie. I also love the fact that it has like big stars like not Samuel L. Jackson, Ted Danson, Leslie Nielsen. It also has like even young Ed Harris who gets killed in the beginning. Meteor shit, yes. I'm a big fan of the movie. I love it. That's why I made our poster today out of it, our graphic. It's probably one of the best horror movies to come out, and it still holds up to today because it's really, really good.
Yeah, big fan.
And then the second movie I watched was we're in football season. I don't know if you noticed, but the Bears have actually decided to start playing professional football the past 2 weeks.
Never heard of it.
So I went and saw The Replacements. I started watching that. I have the DVD, saw it, and I was like, "Oh, maybe I'll pop this in." Still holds up to today. Hilarious. Another underrated sports movie. I love the fact that after reading this, Baltimore was so desperate for a quarterback, they actually reached out to Keanu Reeves and had him had to do a tryout for the Ravens, which I thought was hilarious. Keanu Reeves just hits home runs when he plays quarterbacks from Ohio State, man.
He probably would have been better than Trent Dilfer.
I think anybody could have. I mean, I think me or you could have played quarterback with that defense.
I think that The Replacements is a fucking gem. I love this movie. I love who plays the kicker? John Rhys Myers or
Yeah, he's from
Watery.
Lil Nicky. Yeah, he's from Lil Nicky.
One of the brothers, Little Nicky. John Favreau's in it, and you have Faison Love.
Danny Bateman.
It's so good. It's an underrated football movie. Like just a banger. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. John Madden, also Pat Summerall's in it. It's awesome. I just love the fact how they it's based off a true story. Joe Gibbs off his team, when the Redskins went to the playoffs. But it's pretty good movie. If you haven't seen it, I definitely recommend you guys check that one out.
Love it. Love this movie.
Martell is like 50 in that movie. Yeah, he is, and he has a little goatee, little Eddie Martell. Johnny Utah. That's not a good one. I told you he plays great quarterbacks from Ohio State, man. But so that's what we've watched this week. If you want to tell us what you watched, hit us up on the X or Twitter or wherever the hell it's going by this week at Yumper and Svo, and let us know in the comments and drop us a reply or tweet or whatever. What do they call it? X now or repost? I don't know. I don't fucking Elon keeps changing shit, so I don't know. But on that social media site, hit us up on there. But like I said, we are going to talk about our favorite horror movie gems, Mr. Svoboda. So let's get into our first one, yeah?
Let's do it.
How long had it been there? But whoever it was, I bought it. But it was too strong. It took me away. The moment it became too real was when I looked down at the floorboards and I saw scratches leading all the way to the door.
2009 is The Fourth Kind, directed by Olatunde Osunami. I'm sorry if I pronounced that incorrectly. It's a very difficult name. Who also directed Evidence and TV shows Star Trek Discovery and Sleepy Hollow. Stars Mila Djokovic, Will Patton, and Elias Kostis. This movie had a budget of $10 million and a box office of $47.7 million. Now, this is one of my movies. The reason I chose this movie is because it doesn't really get talked about a lot. I think this movie got swallowed up in the whole Paranormal Activity, Blair Witch Project kind of thing, but it still definitely spawns from that cloth of film. But I really liked it when it came out. I actually thought it was believable until the end when they say, I know it's reenactments, but they're like, no, it's your turn to believe. I'm like, okay, this is bullshit. But I do like how it's like that documentary style, but they actually have the woman sitting there speaking about what happens in her experiences with being abducted. They have the videos, the grainy video of the guy being abducted. Like, I love how they don't show any aliens. They just have you think they're there. And I thought it was really done really well. It gives you a bunch of jump scares. Like, it's a decent movie throughout that doesn't really get talked about enough.
Yeah, I think the cast is really, really good. Mila Jovovich is great, but Elias Koteas is, first of all, he's fucking Casey Jones.
Yes,
right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, really, a Jose Canseco bat, right? Like, I like the premise of this movie. I'm a big fan of like those documentary style movies. I even put one in my list that we'll talk about later tonight. But yeah, like I don't know if like this movie got the love it deserved when it came out, but I loved it. Was in the era where like the found footage or documentary style movies were really, really popular.
Yeah, I think that's what kind of swallowed it up. Like, is that it doesn't get talked about enough. Like, I don't know if you remember this movie back in the day called Fire in the Sky. which is
I do
based
with
off.
DB. Was that DB Sweeney?
I believe DB Sweeney was it. Yes, where
Yeah.
his friend gets abducted. That was based off a true story. And this kind of gave me a little vibes of it. I thought this movie was more dramatic, of course, because it's a more of a found film and like documentary style. But I really liked that movie, and I wish they would kind of do kind of styles of these movies again. I know the one you picked out later, I really enjoyed too. It's the first time me seeing it. But like the more the more real life touching stuff they do without the hokey stuff. You know, I mean, Paranormal Activity was well for what it did, and then eventually it kind of got played out. Like when they start doing coming up with new ideas of how to do the found footage stuff, like The Last Broadcast,
Yeah.
great movie that kind of set off like the Blair Witch Project. This movie I think was like the top, like the bubble was kind of was there, and then it burst after this because I don't think anything else like great followed it. But it's something that doesn't get talked about. This should get some love from the horror community.
I agree. I agree. If you are interested in watching The Fourth Kind, you can stream it for free on Tubi, or you can rent it for $3.99 on Amazon Prime, Apple TV, or YouTube. So that's where you can find those movies. I think we're going to start doing that. I might be in charge of that, but we'll tell you where you can find these movies if you haven't seen them.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Cool. Yes, that is excellent information to give. Yeah, I don't like hokey. It tends to become pokey. Oh, Brian, you are on one tonight. But let's
always on one. Brian's got some cabin fever because he's locked up right now. So he likes messing with us. So
yes, he does.
yeah.
But let's get into your next one, my friend.
I am going to eat your soul and shit.
Thought you only murdered boys.
I go both ways.
2009's Jennifer's Body, directed by Karen Kusama, who also directed Girl Fight, Aeon Flux, and The Invitation. Movie stars Megan Fox, Amanda Seyfried, J.K. Simmons, and Johnny Simmons, which I thought was hilarious that they both had the same name. Box office of $31.6 million and a budget of $16 million. Swole, tell me why this is one of your movies.
So this movie is becoming a cult classic. Like, people love this. Diablo Cody wrote it. And she wrote Juno, and she was like the hot writer for a long time. This movie is a combination of, I don't know, Mean Girls and like a vampire movie. Like, I don't even know how to describe it, but Megan Fox was at peak hotness, right? Amanda Seyfried was like just starting to come up. Yeah, right. She's got weird thumbs. But like, it takes place in this small town of Devil's Lake or Devil's Hollow. It's a running joke throughout the whole movie. The cast is good, right? Like, you have Adam Brody, you have Chris Pratt is in it for like 45 seconds. J.K. Simmons, Amy Sedaris, but Megan Fox and Amanda Seyfried steal the show. It's corny and it's campy, and there's a lot of lines, like the line that you played, like, "Oh, I go both ways." But I think it's a really fun movie that didn't get the credit that it deserved.
Yeah, totally. This one grew on me. When I first saw it, I'm like, what the hell? Because the bad thing is Megan Fox is typecast, unfortunately, for her. And I think that this kind of movie kind of like was kind of following that typecast her, because then she was then Transformers, the sequels of Transformers. And this is actually her favorite role that she's played. I love everything about the horror genre in terms of, it's add in here with she's basically a succubus.
Yep.
A possessed demon. There's a lot of gore in this movie. I just found it weird when I was reading about the movie and doing research on this that they really, really pushed Amanda Seyfried's and her like relationship in it to make it like a lesbian kind of thing, which they kind of have a little bit in the movie. They kiss, and the best part of that part is not the kiss. It's the fact she's fucking wearing an Evil Dead t-shirt.
Yes. Yes. Well, and also the band, right? The band that turns her into the succubus, like Amanda Seyfried. Now, I don't want to ruin it for everybody, but like, she gets revenge at the end of the movie.
Yes.
And it's really well done, and you fucking hate the band like you're supposed to at the end of the movie.
Yes, Low Shoulder.
Low Shoulder, yeah.
But I liked it. I really, it's like I said, this is her favorite movie. They try to push her a little bit, and be more sexual, and she kind of pushed back on that, which I'm glad she did
Yeah,
because
because it doesn't have to be about that.
and like it just shows you can use a very attractive woman to play like a good fucking horror villain that can scare people, and that's kind of like like most of the thing attractiveness in women or men usually comes from like vampires. You see it in vampires, like they're very attractive and seducing people. This is kind of like a different turn on it, and I kind of like that aspect of the movie. It's definitely one that doesn't get talked about enough, and Megan Fox should get her roses for this one because she did a great job in it. She does a horrible job in Mortal Kombat, the video game that just came out. She's a horrible
Did you
voice
get it?
actor. Yes, and
Okay.
dude, if anybody wants to laugh at Megan Fox's lines.
Okay.
Like it's like basically she just reading line for line, not acting at all. She probably got paid a shitload of money. It's just really bad. But in this movie, she actually acted, and I definitely recommend checking this one out.
If you would like to watch Jennifer's Body, it is included with your Max subscription, your YouTube Prime subscription. You can watch it on Hulu, Amazon Prime, or rent it for $3.99 from Vudu or Apple.
Yeah, so be sure to check that one out. And let's get into our next one.
And where do you live, Simon?
I live in the weak and the wounded. Duck.
2001 Session 9, directed by Brad Anderson, who also directed The Machinist, Vanishing on 8th Street, and Fractured. The movie stars David Caruso, Peter Mullen, Stephen Gavidan, Paul Giafoli, and Josh Lucas. It only had a box office of $1.6 million, and there's no budget I can find. This is one of my picks. So when I was in college and at U of I, one of my best friend and my best man at my wedding, he was staying at the fraternity house, and he's like, dude, I got this movie called Session 9. My friends in class is telling me it's great. Let's get our friends together and watch it. So me and like 5 other friends watched it downstairs in our living room of the house with a big ass screen TV blasting this out. And I thought it was fucking like an epic movie for especially a movie that wasn't really well known. It's very psychologically good. It's very creepy to where it doesn't really show you. It has nothing to do with ghost or paranormal. It's more psychological, and things are happening. I don't want to give too much away because it's a very complex story that you have to watch to get into it. But there's parts where they start playing the tapes like we just listened to, where they listen to a former patient of the mental asylum that they're at. It's basically a guy is down on his luck. He needs to have one last job cleaning asbestos, and they get this mental. He bids low to get this mental facility to clean it up. He tries to do it 2 weeks while nobody else is bidding that much because it's impossible. And he has his crew working there day and night, and basically people start basically dying and things start happening. But one of them discovers old mental records of an old patient, and they listen to the tapes, and that's one of the records they play. Just totally creepy. What probably has one of the most iconic gifs. If you ever see the David Caruso's gif where he goes, "Hey, fuck you," that's from this movie.
Really?
Yes. It's just I love it. I still watch it, at least once a year for Halloween. I did 31 Days of Horror with it last year with it because I love it so much. So tell me what you think about this movie.
Yumper, I got to be honest with you. I've never heard of this movie. Like, I never heard of this movie until you brought it up. It is hard to find. You can rent it on any of the streaming services, but it is not streaming anywhere for free. But I literally just added it to my cart on iTunes, and it's going to be one I watch tonight. I'm still on vacation, and the wife goes back to work tomorrow, so this is going to be the one that I watch tonight. But the cast looks great, and the way that you described it makes me want to check this out. So this is going to be a watch tonight.
Yeah, and to add more creepiness to this movie's fall, so this movie was shot in the Danvers State Mental Prison in Danvers, Massachusetts. So it was a rundown mental state hospital. I'm sorry, I said prison. Mental state hospital. It was run down, and it was closed because there were a lot of bad things happening to the patients there, like malnourishment, abuse, SAs, you name it, it was there. And the crazy thing is, when they shot this movie, all the rooms that they're in had very little extra prep work put to them. They're actually authentic of what it looked like.
Real set, like not sets, like real
Real,
locations.
yeah. They only could be in three parts of the facility because most of it was really full of asbestos and dangerous. But while there, like Caruso claims that like he was shooting a scene, he saw somebody walk past the door in front of him, and he's like, "What the hell is that?" Like the lead actor John Giffoy was on top of the roof, and he said somebody was whispering in his ear to jump off. Like he said that like they experienced a lot of real crazy stuff at the facility, and it's tore down now. It's all high apartment buildings now, but it's crazy that they actually had the real facility there. And when Brad Anderson was developing the story, he's like, it has to be shot at Danvers, and it was very cheap for them to shoot there, which must have been really easy for him because the movie only made 1.6 million.
Like, I'm not gonna lie to you. Like, first of all, I believe in all that shit. Like, I'm a firm believer in it. But when you said that, like, he heard voices telling him to jump off, like, I got goosebumps and like chills. Like, that's creepy.
Yeah, there's actually if you go on YouTube, if you want, like after you watch the movie, you can watch like a little short documentary about that, and they're speaking to the actors and they talk about it.
Really?
Like it's pretty pretty creepy. How long is it? Oh my goodness. So yes, H is in there. I don't think he wears sunglasses in this movie, but he does swear. This is probably Caruso's best like movie
Yeah.
outside of acting at NYPD Blue and
NYPD
CSI
Blue.
Miami. So, but definitely check this one out if you haven't.
Session 9 sounds fantastic. Like I said, you can rent it for $3.99 on any of the major streaming services, but it is not available to watch for free anywhere.
Cool. And let's get into our next one, my friend.
Hello, my name is Pete Fuzz. I might look like I eat you up, but I'm as friendly as a rabbit. And I'd make a very good friend. Pete Fuzz, I am here.
2014's Creep, directed by Patrick Bryce, who also directed Creep 2. There's Someone in Your House and The Overnight. This movie stars Mark Duplass and Patrick Bryce, only two actors, which I thought was pretty crazy. Swole, this is one of your movies. Tell us why.
Yeah, so Creep was a Netflix exclusive that you could only watch on Netflix for the longest time. And like you and I both love horror movies, and I was like, yeah, I got to watch this because it's in the same vein as The Fourth Kind or Paranormal Activity, where it's found footage or it's the footage of the movie, right? But this guy is brought to this home in I don't know, the mountains or whatever, to like be a videographer for this dude that dupes him. And he tells him that it's like he's dying, he has cancer, he's making a video for his son, and there's all sorts of fucking weird like twists and turns, and he turns out to just be an absolute creep. And I think, Yump, you probably did the research for this, but I think this movie was based off of Patrick Bryce, his experience on Craigslist, right? Like he had some weird experiences on Craigslist. I don't know how many people have seen this movie, so I would really, really like you guys to check it out if you haven't. This is one of the first Blumhouse movies.
Mm-hmm.
And it is awesome. It is creepy, and it will give you the chills. I promise you.
Yeah, just like when I play the clip, it's kind of like you think it would be like a comedy, funny thing, but if you actually watch the clip, it's a guy dancing around in a fucking wolf mask.
In a wolf mask, yeah.
And it's basically him documenting this man's life, he says, for his son, and he notices this guy is, basically not what he seems. And if you as you go through the movie, you kind of find out, oh, maybe he isn't. The crazy thing about this movie is it was shot in a week. Bryce and Duplass actually had bare bones script, which basically said things like, you drive a car here. And they basically shot from the hip with the basic synopsis of the scene saying, okay, this is what they might talk about. But they basically shot from the hip, improvised everything, which I thought was amazingly done because the movie is not that bad for a found footage movie. It's more, like I said, how The Fourth Kind was kind of like the popping of the bubble. This one kind of like is building that bubble up, and I thought it was very, very well done. I never seen it until you recommended it. I actually watched it within the past couple of days, and I actually really liked it. Now there's a sequel that came out. I haven't seen that one, but as far as experiences with Craigslist, that's actually more in the sequel, from what I understand. The YouTuber that had experiences with Craigslist is dealing with the same person. But yeah, definitely, if you haven't seen this one, check this one out. So, where can I find this?
You can stream this on Netflix for free if you have a Netflix subscription. You can also rent it from Vudu or Apple TV, wherever you rent your movies from digitally, but it is free with your Netflix subscription.
Yeah, so check this one out if you haven't seen it. It's definitely worth the time. It's a short watch too. I think it's only an hour and like 14 minutes, hour and 22 minutes around there. So it's very short and easy, and it's like smooth, and it's definitely worth it.
It's
So check this
awesome.
one out. Yeah,
Yeah.
good pick by YumpSvow. Good pick, man.
Thanks, buddy. That's how I know I did well. I'm proud when you're like a good pick.
All right, my friend, let's get into our next one.
Young. Folks used to talk about it. Here's how you do things. Man had been wrong. Come to you. You called upon this thing in that man's name, and that man, he'd be avenged.
But you ask. Pride.
1998's Pumpkinhead. This is directed by Stan Winston. Now, Winston is known mostly for his visual effects and makeup. He has worked on Edward Scissorhands, Batman Begins, Terminator, Aliens, which he won an Oscar for Best Visual Effects, Terminator 2, where he won 2 Oscars, one for Best Visual Effects and one for Best Makeup, Predator 2, and then he won a 3rd Oscar for Jurassic Park for Best Visual Effects. The movie stars Lance Henriksen, Jeff East, John Diacono, Florence Schaefer, and Cynthia Bain. It had a box office of 4.4 million on a budget of 3.5 million. So this movie is one of my picks. This is a movie that I watched as a kid. I still watch to today. Me and my brother love this movie coming out. I love the fact that the whole point of the movie is a man's son gets killed and he seeks revenge, and he goes to this old lady called Haggis. He lives in the boonies. I'm guessing he lives in the Kentucky or in Tennessee, but he goes to this old lady called Haggis, and she basically resurrects this being to take revenge against the people that have killed his son. The way Pumpkinhead looks in this movie, like, you can tell why this guy's won so many Oscars. He still holds up today in terms of the way they shot him. It still looks creepy. The sounds, the sound effects they have when he comes out. Lance Henriksen plays a great role as a guy who you can see he's troubled, but also eventually remorseful for what he's doing. And the fact that Haggis the witch, like, I haven't seen a witch played better in movies, and that's saying a lot. I love the creepiness of this whole movie, Swole.
I love Pumpkinhead too. It's a cult classic. It has a massive cult following. It's also a nostalgia thing, right? Like, it was a movie that I watched with cousins as a kid, with friends at sleepovers. And it's just like Stan Winston's special effects are always fantastic. It also stars a very young Blossom, Mayim Bialik.
Yes, she's in it as well. Yes.
And what, according to Brian, Roger Clinton, Bill's brother, did a song for Pumpkinhead too. You're talking about Roger, right, Brian?
Yeah, so Bill Clinton's brother.
I like Pumpkinhead 2 Electric Boogaloo, Brian. Does that answer your question?
To go off a side, like, not rants, but like, Pumpkinhead 2 was fucking horrible. But there's a video game for Pumpkinhead 2.
Blood Wings, right?
Yeah. Have you ever seen the computer game?
No.
It's completely impossible to play. You have to, like, somebody came out with a video maybe 10 years ago of how to beat it. But like, once you beat the game, they actually have the person in the Pumpkinhead suit dance to "He's a Good Boy" in gym shoes, which I thought was hilarious. Yeah,
Pumpkinhead is a cult classic, and it should be talked about in the veins of, I'm not gonna say like Friday the 13th and Halloween, but like Trick or Treat and like those other movies that are go-to every year. Like, this would be a movie where, like, I know we hate them, and we'll talk a little bit about them in a few minutes, but like, I wouldn't be opposed to it being remade.
Yeah, so I think this, if a Guillermo del Toro took this movie, this is all him.
That's it.
Very easy storyline to follow. It's, just basically making it look good and scary is a big thing. And I love the fact that like Hendrickson was a big like Lance Hendrickson was a big deal. Like he was in Aliens. Um, when he was offered this role, he went all out. He had dentures made to make himself look more rural. He actually bought the silver he gives to the witch. That's his silver. He bought and like used it for props. He bought the World War II shotgun he uses. Like he was big for the part because he loved the script so much. And this all came from a poem by Ed Justin. It was just a poem. And they basically built a story around it, which I thought was awesomely done. I wouldn't mind a remake to be made because, I mean, nothing's gonna beat the original, but I would love to see. But as long as it's put in the right hands of somebody,
Right.
I would even like Jordan Peele to see if you could do something with this, like somebody that respects horror to a degree, that needs to not. We'll talk about him later, but I don't want David Gordon Green touching this fucking movie at all.
Oh God, yeah, we have some thoughts. We may get a Bruhan Luke type rant from Yumper coming up soon.
But yeah, if you haven't seen Pumpkinhead, Swell, can you tell everybody where they can find it?
Absolutely. You cannot stream Pumpkinhead anywhere for free, but you can rent it for $3.99 on any of the major platforms: YouTube, Amazon Prime, Google Play, Apple TV, or Vudu.
Cool. Be sure to check that one out. And no, it's not going to be a mushroom rant, Brian. Let's get into our next one, my friend.
Mommy and Daddy looked a long time to find the perfect boy child. But each one they found turned out bad. Some saw things they weren't supposed to. Others heard too much. Others talked back. Daddy cut out the bad parts and put the boys in the cellar, one by one. When they get flashlights and food of some kind, I suppose they're happy in their own way. Yeah, right.
The People Under the Stairs, released in 1991, directed by the great Wes Craven, who also directed some movies called the Nightmare on Elm Street series and the Scream series, starring Brandon Quinton Adams, Everett McGill, Wendy Robbie, AJ Langer, and Sean Whalen. The movie had a box office of $31.3 million on a $6 million budget. Well, tell me why you love The People Under the Stairs.
Well, first of all, we love Wes Craven movies in general on this podcast. Wes Craven is one of the greatest horror movie directors of all time. This movie was a movie that, I've talked about this before on the pod. I would go spend time with my mother in Hillbilly, Indiana, and there was nothing to do but watch movies or watch Purdue sports, right? That's why Purdue is my favorite Big Ten team. And this was a movie that was on Cinemax or HBO that I could watch over and over again. Brandon Adams was great. And then, am I high, but was his uncle Ving Rhames?
Yes, it was Ving Rhames.
Right? Like Ving Rhames was his uncle, right? Like I had a brain fart there for a minute, right? And they have to break into this house and like the BDSM masochist, like leather mask and like the fucking like the slumlords where they're taking advantage of people of color in the hood, and they get their fucking revenge, and they come up and like Fool is running through the house like fucking with these guys, and the way they fuck with the Rottweilers. Like, I just think that this movie is absolutely fantastic. I love it. I have watched this movie probably 200 times. I love this movie.
So, first of all, the thing I like most about this movie is it has fucking Jesse from the Mighty Ducks as the lead character.
Yes.
That's one thing I always thought. Roach, who's played by Sean Whalen, and yes, Brian S. Sean Whalen is the best. A very underrated character actor. He has a great TikTok series where he talks about everybody he's worked with in the movie industry. Awesome guy. Would love to meet him to pick his brain on certain things, but he does great as Roach. And I found it crazy that Roach was actually auditioned by Hilary Swank, who actually auditioned for the role. They didn't know if Roach could be a female or a male. They went with Sean Whalen because his audition was a little better. But it's pretty crazy that you had an Oscar winner audition for this. But Sean Whalen knocked it out of the park. Wendy Robbie and Everett McGill as mommy and daddy.
And that's like Everett McGill was the fucking bad guy in Under Siege 2 Dark Territory.
They're also in Twin Peaks.
They're in
Twin Peaks.
Right. But I could not take him seriously as the villain in Under Siege 2 because of him in the gimp suit and the people under the stairs.
Yeah. Oh, she is. Wow. Brian just broke some news saying that AJ Lander is now British royalty, and she is.
You son of a bitch, Brian. We don't talk about that movie on this podcast.
Yeah, but I love this movie. Wes Craven was a big fan. The funny thing is, Wes Craven found this movie in a article he was reading about kids being basically abducted and chained up, and kept in houses. He read a story about burglars who went into a house to burglarize. They realized all the doors were locked and the kids were locked inside, and they actually called the police on themselves, left, and the cops came and got those kids out. So that's something that Wes Craven's known for, is just reading stuff in the papers that, like, he got an idea for Freddy for reading something in the paper, and then he makes a movie out of it, which just shows a brilliant mind of his. He really wanted to make this movie into a TV series on Sci-Fi or Syfy before he passed away and never got to fruition. I wonder how that will look. How would you make this into a TV series? I don't know if you could.
I don't know if you could. And some things, like, there are some things that we hold very dear to us that don't need to be remade, and there are some things that, like, I wouldn't mind seeing a remake of this. This movie was perfect for the time.
Yeah, I think it was perfect. I don't know if it would have worked in a TV series because I don't know how much of the story can flush out more. But overall, good movie. Loved it when I saw it. I always thought the kid looked creepy with the sunglasses that he finds in the under the stairs, that the one that helps him. He tells him he could find women, and I always thought, even as a kid, I'd be like, "Who the fuck would want to talk to you?"
Right. Well, and we always talk about representation matters, and it was about people of color and how they're, I think it's a great movie and one of Wes Craven's underrated bangers.
Definitely. Check this one out if you haven't. Swell, where can they find this one?
You can stream this movie on any of the major platforms, Google Play. It is free with a Peacock subscription or a YouTube Prime subscription. And you have to have an Amazon Prime subscription to stream it, but it's also available for $3.99.
Awesome. And there is no Brennan Lee slander here.
Yeah, we don't do that either.
But let's get into our next one.
In the mouth of madness. Used to deliver truth. I'll be joining my new publishers now. You take the manuscript back to the world for me. That's what you do.
Well, I had to do it. The Mouth of Madness was directed by the great John Carpenter in 1994, who also directed Halloween 1 and 2, Big Trouble in Little China, The Thing, The Fog, and Escape from New York. The movie stars Sam Nielsen, Jürgen Prochnow, Julie Carmen, and David Warner. It had a budget of $8 million and only paid $8.9 million at the box office. So also he directed They Live as well. Yes. So I had to include a Carpenter movie. I wanted to put, but this is a movie that actually has been getting a lot more love recently than it has in the past. It's a definitely weirded out movie of a writer who hears about this man named Sutter Kane and his stories. He writes about him, and eventually, he starts to become real. It's very complicated. Sam Neill plays a lot of crazy parts. You're like, what the hell is going on? To me, it was just an enjoyable, cheesy horror movie. I love the direction it went in. I love that it's getting love now for something that looks different than what we're seeing these days. And that's something that I'm noticing a lot more now. So that a lot of older movies, I just did Return to Living Dead. I've seen more stuff about Return to Living Dead, now than I've ever seen in years before, because maybe people are not connecting with the horror movies of current day, and they're starting to go back and look at the ones that haven't been mentioned out in publicly, or they're not talked about enough. And this one is another one of them. This is one of Carpenter's, not his best horror, but it's one that's worth the watch.
I mean, it's definitely not like Ghost on Mars.
Oh, I love Ghost on Mars.
So, let me ask you something. Did you watch Lovecraft Country when it was on HBO with Jonathan Majors?
I watched a little bit of it. I haven't. There's actually another Lovecraft series that I saw actually previews for that I really want to get into. I can't remember the name off the top of my head right now.
But this was kind of this movie was based on H.P. Lovecraft, a lot of H.P. Lovecraft's work.
Yes, it
right?
was.
Like, and I think Lovecraft Country was an underrated banger. This is a great movie, man. Like, yeah, it goes off on its weird tangents, but Sam Neill kind of reins them back in. And it is like starting to get more love. I think that you're on point. I think that the horror movie scene right now is just retreads and there's nothing new and innovative. Like look at the box office right now with horror movies. We're in October, and what do we have right now, Yump? We have Saw
Mhm.
X, Saw 10, and we have David Gordon Green's The Exorcist. Now, I don't want to talk about those yet because that's coming up, but like people want new shit, man. And when new shit comes out that's good, they flock to it. Like The Barbarian, right? People
Mhm.
loved The Barbarian last year. So people
Yeah.
are finding these older movies. Like, I don't know. I think this is an underrated movie. I love John Carpenter's work. It was definitely influenced by H.P. Lovecraft. And yeah.
Also, for your Star Wars fans, Hayden Christensen is actually in this movie. His film debut. He plays a paperboy.
He
So
hates sand. It's coarse and it gets everywhere.
yes. But if you have this is a movie like it's a lot of great visuals. Another thing I like about Carpenter, his great visual. This movie has a lot of great visuals in it. Um, it's the Sam Neill's in another movie called Event Horizon, and this movie kind of gives me a lot of Event Horizon vibes.
Event Horizon is fucking underrated.
Yes, if you like that movie, you'll like this one.
Yeah.
I definitely recommend checking this one out. Swole, can you tell people where they can find this one?
Absolutely. You can stream it for free on YouTube, Tubi. You can rent it for $2.49 on Amazon Prime or $2.99 from any of your other major streaming platforms.
Thank you, Mrs. Favoda. Let's get into our next film.
That's from the late 90s in St. Louis. The other one, the car hood, that is from Sacramento. That's about 30 years ago.
Tell me about the one in Sacramento.
It's a symbol associated with the worship of a pagan deity.
A deity? What kind of deity?
A very obscure one, dating back to Babylonian times, named Bagul, the eater of children.
Did you say eater?
Yes, of children.
2012 Sinister, directed by Scott Derrickson, who also directed Exorcism of Emily Rose, Doctor Strange, and The Black Phone. The movie stars Ethan Hawke, Juliet Rylance, Fred Thompson, and James Ransoni, but had a budget of $3 million and made a whopping $87.7 million. Swole, tell me why Sinister's on your list.
This movie is a banger, man. It feels like the movies that they find, the whole movies that they find, they feel like snuff movies, right? Like they're like 8mm snuff movies. They're real murders. And it takes over like Ethan Hawke's life. Ethan Hawke is fantastic in this. And he went on and worked with the director in The Black Phone, which we both loved. And Bagul, like this movie is near and dear to me because I go up to Minnesota to see my best friend. And we used to do it once a year. We don't do it once a year now, but we just went to Tallahassee. And we would go up every year in October to see a horror movie together, and we called it Bagul Bash, right? It was just a way for me to get together with my friend, and we did Bagul Bash. We love this movie. It was scary. It was really good. The cast is fantastic. The effects are really good, but the mask that they wear in the snuff movies is something out of like it's nightmare fuel. I really enjoyed Sinister. I liked Insidious and Paranormal Activity, which the producers did those too. If you missed this one because yeah, it made a lot of money, but it doesn't get talked about enough, like go back and watch it.
I would second that. This is a very, very, very well done horror movie. You mentioned the snuff films that are shown in this movie, and one thing I read about was Ethan Hawke when he was actually auditioning for this movie and then got the part. He did not watch any of the snuff films. He just had in the script it said snuff films. He said he wanted to experience them in character. So everything you see him acting is really him acting to what he is seeing on the TV, which I thought was or on the projector, which I thought was really, really well done and really cool to know how. But like Ethan Hawke does not get talked about enough how much range he has as an actor. I know Training Day was probably his big break, but in terms of this movie, and then you look at how he plays the villain in The Black Phone, which I wrote a blog about. Shout out B-Flow for saying that. but I wrote a blog about it on our website. You can check out. I posted it today about how I love that movie and the way that movie was actually done, and it's directed by the same person, Scott Derrickson.
Yeah.
This movie's very creepy. Crazy thing about it was that in those snuff films, there's actually a spoiler alert, there's a family hanging from trees in the broad daylight. Did you know like those are all like stuntmen? But did you know like the stunt coordinator that was hired prior didn't rig them right, and people are actually choking from the fucking tree?
I did not know that.
Like they got pissed and they fired him, which he was lucky nobody passed away from that, but it's ridiculous. Just reading about the trouble that Derrickson had to go through to getting even the snuff films like filmed correctly because they're shot on 9mm, so it's a constant like crank camera. There's a one where they're in the pool, and he said that was a nightmare to do because of the water one, and you had to make sure everybody was safe doing it. Also, the actor Bagul was actually underwater, so you had to make sure he was all right because he had to pop up. Like it's just beautifully shot. I love the story of it. Sinister 2 it's come out already, right? Sinister 2? I
Yeah,
haven't
it's
seen it.
out. I don't know if I saw the sequel either. I just love the first one so much.
Yeah, I haven't seen the sequel. I will check that one out, but I think like this movie, like when I saw it, I was like, that was really well done.
Yeah.
I even the part I just played for the clip of the doctor explaining, where Bagul comes from. I love that part. I love like how it has like little background to it and it just builds off the suspense from there.
I agree. Like he's a true crime writer, right? Like, and he hasn't had a good like a hit book. Just a good movie.
Yes, yes. What movie you talking about, Tony? Not good in comparison.
Sinister 2, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Sinister 2. Thank you. Where sequels are cash grab. I don't. Sometimes they are. Sometimes they aren't.
I love Halloween 2 more than the original.
I like the original, but I like Halloween 2. I think Halloween 2 is a very, very good sequel.
I just like the way that Halloween 2 picks up like the exact same night as the first Halloween. There's no like, 6 months later. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
No evil died that night?
No.
But let's get into our next one, my friend.
Real quick, Yump, you can rent Sinister for $2.89 on Amazon Prime, YouTube, Apple TV, and Vudu for $3.99.
Thank you, my friend. Thank you for putting that out. Let's get into our last two movies.
I know who the God's Hand Killer is.
All right, I'll buy. Who?
You hadn't even heard me out yet, and already you doubt me. Why is that?
Because in a case like this, nobody just walks into the office and tells you who the killer is. It just doesn't happen that way.
Sometimes truth defies reason, Agent Dole.
Yeah? So who is it then?
My brother.
2001's Frailty, directed by Bill Paxton in his directorial debut. You know, Bill Paxton, he actually acted in Predator 2, Alien 2, Terminator, Apollo 13, Twister, and Tombstone. He's also the only person to be killed by a Predator, an Alien, and a Terminator. Movie stars Bill Paxton, Matthew McConaughey, Powers Booth, and Matt O'Leary. It had a budget of $11 million and made a box office of $17 million. This is one of my picks. This is a movie that, again, does not get talked about enough. This movie, to me, for one, I love Bill Paxton. I love the fact he directed this movie. I love Powers Booth. Powers Booth's another actor that does not get enough credit for. He's in a lot of B movies, but he's a very, very good, talented actor. This movie kind of was a coming out party for Matthew McConaughey for me. It shows his chops as an actor. I love the story behind this movie. It's basically a father with his two sons. He has this vision that he's told by God to kill all the people with demons in them. That's pretty much as far as I want to get into it, because you have to watch the movie because the story is very well done. And Powers Booth plays an FBI agent that one of the sons talks to in the beginning of the movie. That has a story to go behind that as well. Paxton knocked it out of the park with his first movie. I love this movie. Well, what do you think about it?
I agree completely. I love like horror movies that are kind of based in like reality, right? Like this doesn't have to do with like a demonic possession. Like it does, but it doesn't, right? This dude's just crazy and he hears voices and he was told by God to do these things, right? So I think that this is an absolutely fantastic movie. I have grown to love Matthew McConaughey more and more and more as time goes on, right? And I think he's fantastic in this. They have such a complicated relationship. But this is an absolutely underrated banger that that Bill Paxton made, and I love Bill Paxton. I'm really hoping, and I know like Twister is one of my favorite movies, one of my favorite guilty pleasures. I'm really hoping that Yumper will allow us to have the 3rd annual Yumper and Svo at the show be Twisters, the sequel.
Yeah, for enough people that want to go see it, I don't care.
What did you think I was going to say?
Oh, I don't know.
I was hoping that I was like, no, fuck that. We're not seeing Twisters. Bill Paxton's not in it.
Yeah, that is totally what you would say. But I mean, I know Twister's like, you love Twister. I mean, if they made a Big Trouble in Little China too, I probably would hate the fucking fact that John Carpenter's into it, but I will go see it. Yeah, basically what you said, everything you said, I totally agree with. When you mentioned that, this is based in reality, Paxton actually based this loosely off a serial killer named Joseph Kallinger, who went around and committed murders with his son, claiming that God told him to do it. I think there's a clip of him like all over YouTube and TikTok of somebody asking him, "Do you want to hurt people?" He's like, "Yes." If you've seen the person doing, like, you know what I'm talking about. Paxton, basically, this was his first script he wrote out, and big time directors like James Cameron, Sam Raimi, author Stephen King came out and said this is like one of the best horror movies of that year and one of the best movies they've ever seen. King especially loved this movie, which is big, props from the king of horror writing. I mean,
yeah,
if you haven't seen this movie, definitely get on it. It's definitely worth the time. It has a great slow burn, but it's totally worth everything that happens in it. So where can they find this movie?
You can watch Frailty on YouTube for $3.79 or any of the other streaming platforms, Vudu, Apple TV, Amazon Prime, or Google Play.
Thank you. And Bill Paxton's line in True Lies, "I got a little dick. It's pathetic."
It's true. That's such a fucking good movie.
That's another great movie, man.
Do you
Bill
know
Paxton's a man.
Do you know that True Lies is caught up in some rights with 20th Century Fox that you cannot find it on a streaming service?
Man, I'm getting tired of all this fucking rights bullshit. Like, just let us watch.
Let me own a copy. Let me give you my money.
Another thing too, this is like just for me. I know we're gonna go on to our last movie, but in terms of streaming rights, like there's fucking streaming platforms that are, you buy a movie, and if those rights are pulled, you lose that movie, which I think is completely bullshit for digital purchasers.
It's yeah.
You should automatically own a license to that movie when you buy it. That should be yours
forever.
no matter what.
Agree completely.
And if you're a fucking streaming platform that does this, I'm sorry if I'm swearing so much, but it's complete bullshit. You're stealing people's money for that shit. You should refund them their fucking money if you give it back.
Well, and you know how I feel about having a digital library, right?
Yes, yes. That's why I'm like, it's so ridiculous that I'm running off people losing their libraries because, oh, we lost the stream. Well, that's not their problem. You gave them the light, they should be paid. That should be written into the contract when you actually get the rights for those movies. But I digress. I don't mean to go on a rant, but that just pisses me off.
No, you're good, man.
But let's get into our final one.
Okay, what happens in the story? Just tell me which name is in the book.
Ramon.
It's a campfire story. It used to scare me to death. The jangling man is coming. He's gonna say me.
What's going on?
He's gonna say it. Listen.
2019's Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, directed by Andre Overdahl, who also directed Troll Hunter, Mortal, and The Autopsy of Jane Doe. The story is by one of the greats, Guillermo del Toro, who also wrote it with Patrick Melton and Marcus Dunstan. Starring Zoe Colletti, Michael Garza, Gabriel Rush, and Austin Zager. Swole, this is your movie, my man. Tell me why you picked this one.
So this movie is based on a book from my childhood that we read in elementary school, the Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark series by Alvin Schwartz. And these books were very, very like these books were very, very important to me as a kid, and to see them turned into a movie, I think was really, really cool. They did a really good job of taking a bunch of the stories that were in the book and putting them in the movie. Um, Guillermo del Toro has this knack, and I know you're a big fan of Guillermo del Toro for special effects and like just a look of the things that he does. And it made me love this movie, and it was, it was very well received by critics and at the box office. But I don't think enough people saw it because it's not one that you're like, oh, I want to go back and watch that this Halloween. I think you should, right? It also has at the beginning of the movie, like it takes place on Halloween in like 1968, and they use the song Mellow Yellow by Donovan at the beginning of the movie very, very well. I love this movie to death. I think that the effects are really good. It's scary, but it's not gory or overly scary. So it could be like a good introduction for like your 10, 11, 12-year-old to start to get into some scary movies. I'm a big fan. Yump, what did you think of this movie?
I actually liked it. To be honest with you, I haven't seen it until you mentioned. I actually watched this today.
Really?
Yeah, I watched it on my way into the city, and I finished it on my way home. This movie made a lot of money, like you said. It made $104 million on a $25 million budget. I also found it crazy. This movie was released in August.
Yeah.
August 9th, which I thought was crazy. It's a summer movie. I liked it. Of course, I had the book, Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. My brother, used to read it. When I saw the Big Toe, when I saw the Scarecrow, Harold the Scarecrow.
I didn't know that you read these books. We've never talked about it, but like I still quote with my buddy Mike, like, don't you ever laugh as the hearse goes by, for you may be the next to die. The worms crawl in, the worms crawl out. Like, I quote that all the time. Like, that's awesome. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Brian's the best movie to watch as a kid, and I didn't know. But yeah, no, I love the movie. I love the book. One of my favorite story from the book is actually Wendigo, when the guy goes and out in the when he hears the things outside and he ends up his feet start burning and he evaporates. That's a great story. I love the movie. I thought was very well done. I love the fact they have a Latino character in here. I'm all about diversity. I love the fact he's a main character in here. I thought it was adapted very well, even though the stories I think don't match up to what they were in the book. Sometimes it doesn't happen, but I thought they pulled it all together and made it nicely. That's a good kids movie, teenager movie. I thought was done well. And if you haven't seen it, I definitely would check this one out. I actually watched this for free on Prime, so that's one spot you can watch it. So where else can they watch it?
That's a great segue. Yep. You can watch it for free on Tubi, Hulu, Peacock, Amazon Prime, Sling TV, or you can rent it if you don't have any of those for $3.99 on all your major streaming platforms.
Yeah, so check this one out. Brian is mentioning Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer in this chat. If you have not seen Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer, I've seen that movie twice. The first time I was like, what the hell? If you listen to our last episode, gambling movies with the guys from the 108, Chirizi and Beefo, they tell a great story about when they rented that movie.
Yep.
It is not for the faint of heart.
It is not.
It's a very good movie. Just a movie I wouldn't watch all the time. It's kind of like, it's a movie up there with me too, like with like the horrible war movies that can be think of. Anywhere account. Nice. But those are our 10 movies. If you haven't seen them, Svo told you where to find them. Be sure to check them out. Let us know what you think. Let us know if any movies that we haven't mentioned that you like. Send us your list. We always like to interact with you guys. We might bring back the Twitter comments to go back more with fans and people who support the show. But those are our 10. Let us know what you think. We still got a little bit of show left for you, and we're gonna go right into Swole news and rumors.
Yeah. Can I kick this off, Yump?
Mm-hmm.
So, Yump, David Gordon Green's Exorcist Believer opened today, and it was number 1 at the box office, but it had pretty bad returns. How do you feel about these remakes of these horror movies? And Yump, let's hear your thoughts about David Gordon Green in general.
I think if you watched the Halloween episode we did last year, for Halloween, you kind of see my thoughts on David Gordon Green. I think he started off really nice and then fucking fell off a cliff. When this movie was being made, so I remember I text you. I'm like, this is gonna be fucking horrible.
Yeah.
And you're like, no, it could be good. I'm like, dude, the way he took the Halloween franchise and just shit all over it, he's gonna do the same thing. And I haven't seen this movie, but shout out to a friend of the show, Richard Roper. He shat all over it, all over this movie. And from what I'm reading, this movie is not great. Look, watching the video, like the trailer, I could have told you that it's same premise, same kind of concoction as Halloween. Bring in the old actress and try to merge the old with the new, and he does it poorly. And I am sick of classics being remade. I love Halloween. I love Nightmare on Elm Street. I love the Friday the 13th series. But let's be real here. How many fucking times can you tell the same story over and over again? Like, it's done. Like, there's a new movie coming out with Texas Chainsaw Massacre now, with Rob Zombie taking the reins.
So that's the last part of news and rumors that I want to talk to you about is how do we feel about Rob Zombie and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre?
So my brother saw Exorcist. He told me it's really bad. And my brother is like one person I go to for horror because that's like his thing. He wrote his thesis on horror. Like that's what we grew up on. He told me it's really bad. If he tells me it's really bad, it's gonna suck. And he's like more lenient than I am with horror movies. Like he'll say, "Oh, it wasn't that bad," but if he tells me it's bad, it's bad. To going back to David Gordon Green, come up with an original idea. You have talent. Do something original.
Write a fucking comedy again, dude. You helped write Eastbound and Down, like one of the funniest HBO shows to ever exist. Go write a fucking comedy movie, dude. Like you murdered the Halloween franchise.
You're damn right, Brian. He got his master's in horology.
You are fucking up the Exorcist legacy. You brought Ellen Burstyn back. Sorry, spoiler alert. He brought her back, right? Like you're fucking things up. Stop doing it. Yes, yes, he did. He did. He writes comedy movies.
Stick to comedies then, because your fucking horror, your horror sense is horrible.
And I know it's easy for us to sit on the sidelines, and I don't want to go too much longer because our boys, the bums, are on. But like it's easy for us to sit on the sidelines and say, dude, you shouldn't do this. You're terrible at it. We've never directed a movie in our lives, but we know that we're not going to spend $400 million for the rights to a movie to bring home $27 million on opening weekend.
That, and it's not like I'm far away. We're both are. We're kind of far away from being cinema snobs.
We're not at all.
You like what you like, but when you it's come up with original ideas, or like we were talking about Pumpkinhead. If you're gonna do a remake, make it done with somebody who has passion to make the project feel whole to the fans of the project. We're gonna talk spoiler. Our next thing's gonna be on Friday the 13th. There's a remake in there that is actually it's not horrible. It's done very well.
I like it.
It's different, and there's different twists and turns on it that and different specs that are added to it to make it more modern, to make it more enjoyable, to make it caught up, or you add your own little flavor to it. He doesn't do that with these. It seems like it's the same recipe for we're gonna bring in the old and merge it and see what. And you don't need to do that. The Exorcist 2 is probably one of the worst fucking sequels I've ever seen in my life, and it's got fucking Darth Vader in the movie. That's why when I did 31 Days of Horror, I did The Exorcist 3. And I think that's the real sequel to The Exorcist because it's a better movie and it's done by the original writer. Like, learn from these mistakes, and possession movies are played out, man. Like, do a different idea of possession movie. Nefarious is a great, example of it. Like Fallen, those are great examples of different ideas of possession movies.
Stop just fucking grabbing the cash and making the same fucking thing over and over again. And I think, that takes me into my final thought, if you're okay with it.
Mm-hmm.
We already talked about Friday the 13th is next. We're going to have a special guest on there. But my final thought is I'm fucking tired of the same movies over and over again. Yump, I'm not going to lie to you. I have not watched any of Ashoka. I am not going to watch any of Loki because I have Marvel fatigue. Like, I am tired of Marvel stuff. I want original ideas. That's why I was excited to see The Creator, right? It was original idea by someone that has a passion for science fiction movies. Just
to say, for those two shows, Favreau's doing a great job with Marvel, with Star Wars. new original stories and different ideas of how they're bringing everything together. He's blending it nicely. With Loki to me is the best show that the Marvel series has dropped with WandaVision #2.
Ooh, I loved WandaVision. So
Loki is the best. Like Loki is very, very good. I haven't watched the new episode yet. I've been super busy, but I will get to it. And from what I heard from everybody who's watched it, they will enjoy it. So don't miss out on those two. But see, that just shows you can merge old with new and
you can
make it work.
if you get someone that writes the source material and you get someone that cares about it. But I want good original Hollywood movies. I want big blockbuster original ideas. I don't need to see another fucking Terminator movie. I don't need to see like, you know, fucking a Texas Chainsaw Massacre reboot with Rob Zombie. I don't need another David Gordon Green getting a hold of a horror icon. And I didn't need Jackie Earl Haley as fucking Freddy Krueger.
No.
Billy and the Clonosaurus.
I have to read this. I had an original idea for a movie. It's about an amusement park where dinosaurs come to life. It's called Billy and the Clonosaurus.
I'm DNA.
That's a great Simpsons
That's a good idea.
riff,
Like,
Brian.
I don't know about you, and I know it's a video game treatment, but I'm excited for Five Nights at Freddy's.
Yeah, I am as well. There's actually a Nicolas Cage movie that came out that kind of like resembles that a little bit. Wally World, I think it's called.
Yeah, I saw the preview for that.
It's not bad. It's Nicolas Cage, but it's not horrible. But
I don't know. The massive weight of unbearable talent was.
Yeah, I've seen Wally World like before. It's not great, but it's like kind of like Five Nights at Freddy's. It's kind of got the ideas from there.
I got.
I would like to see like if you're gonna do I know I don't want to push too long, but like if you want to do if you want to talk video games, The Darkness, great movie, a great game to look into if you haven't seen that. They just came out with Alan Wake, which is eventually probably going to be made into a movie.
The Last of Us.
Last of Us.
The Last of Us was turned into an amazing HBO show.
Yes, so there's material out there if you want to go that route. It just has to be done, giving homage and perfectly done to. Like you have to show it the respect. Don't just shit over it the Hollywood style and just put because you have a name and make a story that's horrible with it. And that's I think that's why we're getting fatigued from everything right now.
I have fatigue. I want to see original ideas. But that's all I got for tonight, Yump. You got anything else?
No, check out 31 Days of Horror on our Sadistic Penguin Studios channel. New movie review drops every day. I'm pretty sure Brian's got one of his 20 podcasts coming up. Check out Eugene Tallahassee every week for college football talk. And check out my man Tony on the Hook Up on Music. He's doing some really good stuff. He's doing an actual show, little sound bites where he reviews a song or a quick album, like 10-minute, 15-minute videos that are really good for the Hook Up on Music.
We got playback tomorrow night. What are we playing back tomorrow night?
Tomorrow is Tuesday, so I don't know what you're playing.
Bulls preseason game. We got a baseball playoff game. What do we got?
Yeah, what's the playback tomorrow, Brian? I don't know.
We'll figure it out. He'll probably type here in the next 30 seconds. Well, we have a plethora of things on the Sadistic Penguin Studios. And we'll see you guys next time.
Deuces.